Yeah.
Gordon Parks, he talks about using the camera as a weapon. I'm curious to hear how you use the pen as your choice of weapon.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question on for a couple reasons. Um, I've kind of gone back and forth as far as my understanding or my belief in the pen as a weapon or as any particular thing that we use to make art to be a weapon. Um, but I really do like, and I have meditated on that quote from Gordon Parks. The He says, "I picked up a camera because it was my choice of weapons
Yep.
against what I hated most about the universe: racism, intolerance, and poverty." And so I do think there's something to that. So, but I'm thinking more as a tool, right? As a tool that works for me and on me, right? And so Karl Marx once said, "Philosophers seek to interpret the world, but the point is to change it." And so, and I think that's true of artists too. And so, because what is a true artist if not a philosopher? And so, if we're not digging deep into ourselves and doing what James Baldwin says, which is to make the world a more human dwelling place, then what is the point?
Yeah, I know. I think that's well said, and I agree with you. Like you use the pen, or as he said, as the camera as a choice of weapon. But in a lot of ways, it is a way to liberate and to talk about it. I know you talk a lot about how you use the pen yourself as liberalization. How do you believe, like, kind of how books and pop culture intersect with your choice of liberating through writing?
Yeah, so um, I think there's an aspect that maybe if I'm really being honest, I don't know how much I believe in what maybe some folks call self-liberation, if it's not connected to the liberation of all. So I think of certain practices or even like even financial situations, where you have like a little bit more wiggle room, right? And so it might feel a little bit more free than others. But let's just give an example, something like freedom of speech or, the right to assemble, certain First Amendment rights and, principles. I think we see what's going in the world right now, that there are certain things that you can do that make that you're like, okay, this is positive, like that we have these positive freedoms, and then there are certain things that you can do that kind of show you the limits of such. And so when I'm thinking about liberation in those terms, I don't know that I would say that I don't think we can say anyone is free unless we're all free. Because if not, we always have to ask freedom for whom and from and to do what or from what, those types of things. Where I think books and pop culture come in is when we truly engage thoughtfully in these things. Um, I think it creates a scenario in which we have mirrors, right? So if I'm reading, a brilliant piece of fiction like I was just going to reapproach Assembly by Natasha Brown because she's got a new book coming out, I think next year. Um, and so as I'm looking through that, and the main character has a pretty decent job, is I'm trying to think how to dig into it without giving the plot away, just because I really wish people would read this book, um, where you're dealing with yourself and you're like, hey, look, what sense is it for me to be comfortable while the world burns, right? And so that's kind of what I see as the central tension, and what the main character decides is that um, the things that I'm doing, I will do these for the people who are coming after me. But she does so in a very particular way. And so that's the kind of thing where I'm looking at that and I'm like, these are the types of questions that I have, right? And this is what I mean by, like, artists, can, or true philosophers as well, because what we're trying to figure out is, how to live better and how to relate better to one another, how to understand ourselves better, how to be in this world. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like the way how you frame that. So in doing that, like, how do you better understand yourself in the context of culture, society, history? Like, how do you understand that better?
Yeah. So I think that's a great question because for me, I think it's important that we view ourselves as agents of history, right? So I think it's important that we don't just see things things just happening around us and being dictated to us by some, you know, nameless, faceless, whether you want to call it the government, corporations, the state, that we have no agency in that. I think it's important for us to see ourselves, and this is part of the reason why, like, I think, it's important to read history. It's important to read, different essays as well as fiction, and to engage in different types of art. I was in Washington, D.C. last year, and for the first time, I was able to visit the National Portrait Gallery. And it's really incredible, the work that's there. It's like from like, the old European masters, to some more contemporary stuff. Like I saw Philippe Gustave, as well as like Pablo Picasso,
Other paintings, yep.
yeah, as well as, several others, in between. And I think when you start seeing like how we were, when you start engaging how we were, I think we can start to see how we are and find the answers to how we want to be.
Yeah, I think if you honestly, when you don't study history, I think it gives you such a like distorted reality, like because you don't see how things have got to this point, right? So you think
Right.
what you see is all there is, right? But you can learn. That's why it's either books. You kind of, even if it's like people that have passed away, it's like you read books and make friends with the imminent dead, right? You go and learn about
For
Baldwin
sure.
and what he's built. You go learn about, to your point, I think you said, yeah, W. Du Bois you mentioned earlier. You go and learn about these people so you can see how they dealt with the world and how they experienced it. And you learn a lot from that. If you enjoyed that clip, make sure you head over to www.bookumapp.com to download our app so you can connect with your favorite bookish content creators, start conversations, and start your own book club.